Yes, my fellow Chibits, the title does not deceive you. Yes, I am finally doing a first impressions of Eva. Now, as I promised, I would be doing backlog reviews and first impressions on a lot of series I've been needing to watch for a good long while, and here I am to start it off with Eva. So I have finally gotten into the robot. Now, I know that was kind of a forced meme, but fuck it. So, yes, I finally started it, and I'm just going to let you know that this is an FYI. This video is only going to contain content from episode 1, 2, and 3, my first impressions of the series after watching the first 3 episodes, so there's not going to be any content I'm going to be discussing after episode 3, so I'm going to continue doing reviews and stuff. I'm just letting you know, when it comes to my first impressions, this is my first impressions of the first 3 episodes to kind of get, like, an understanding. Like, you know how the otaku golden rule is, you watch 3 episodes, and if you like it, you continue watching it, or after 3 episodes, you drop it if you hate it, and so I'm kind of doing your first impressions for the first 3 episodes, for I could kind of, you know, get a good understanding. It's a good enough content for I could talk about, and get a good general consensus if I like the series or not. So, the first 3 episodes, gotta say, right off the bat, I am impressed with this series. I can see now why so many have recommended this series to so many anime fans over many years now, and I could see how it could become a very good series from this point onward after episode 3. Now, one of the big things I need to talk about is Shinji as a character. Now, before I even started Eva, there's something I've always heard on anime forums, to manga forums, to, like, just, you know, of social media, all sorts of places, even before I decided to do my first impressions. I've heard many times over that Shinji is probably one of the worst characters of all time. That's what I've always heard from fans of the anime and manga or whatever. Always people have talked about Shinji as such a shitty character. Now, I don't know if he develops and becomes something better or not, but I've heard this many times over, and I'm willing to bet if you never even watched Eva, you probably heard about this somewhere. And so, going into the series, I expected myself to straight up just despise the main male character, like say, fuck you, you're fucking awful and all that. I was just like, I thought I was not gonna really like him at all. But after watching the first 3 episodes, I came to the understanding of saying, you know what, he's not really a bad character. And now that could obviously change depending on where his character goes in the upcoming episodes, but after watching the first 3 episodes, his character is understandable. Like, the way he acts and the way he, you know, talks, or the way he kind of is, you know, like, antisocial, it's understandable because of the life he lived and how he grew up, and also how his father treats him. And so, if you're supposed to hate his character, to be honest, I don't really hate his character at this point. I actually think, as a character, he's really enjoyable, and I can understand some of his emotions. I mean, like, in the latest episode, like episode 3 or whatever, the one I watched, when at the end of the episode, he disobeyed orders and started screaming and killed the, you know, angel, that was an epic moment for Shinji, just to see that, how, you know, he put so much emotion into his voice when he was screaming, and I like how his character is, like, one of the main critical points of the series. Like, you know, I feel like this is going to be a character-driven story instead of, like, you know, maybe, like, another plot story. Like, it's just about mainly the characters and the development of them. For instance, Shinji is going to be the main thing about the series that really drives the series from this point onward, because of what type of mindset he has. And I could see a lot of psychological themes already taking place throughout these first 3 episodes, especially with Shinji's character. We get the introduction of him, we found out that this is a boy that's kind of been abandoned by his father. His father hasn't really talked to him in a while. He's pretty much said, fuck you, Shinji, I don't want nothing to do with you, you're not useful to me. And eventually his father calls him in to, you know, do a job for him. And his father's like, I called you in because you're the only one that can do it, that's the only reason, you're useful now. And it's such a shitty introduction. Like, his father is a straight up asshole to Shinji, because, I mean, if you were like age 13, 14, even like 17 or whatever, and you had your father just say, oh, I called you here because you're the only one that can do it, and also because you finally have a purpose now, I'm like, that's fucked up to say to your own kid. So, Shinji, as a child, you know he had to be mentally warped growing up thanks to what his father has done to him, and he became very antisocial because of this. I'm willing to bet one of the main reasons why he can't interact with anyone, or he's very awkward in different, you know, situations, is because of his upbringing from his father. Now, as a character, he seems to be a little bit of a wimp. That's what the first impressions you would kind of look at. You would say he's a coward, a wimp, or just someone that's just you know, someone that needs to get the fuck out because he's just too scared of everything. But I personally don't completely agree with that, you know, outlook on Shinji. Shinji. Now, obviously, that can change depending on where his character goes after this point onward, but with these first 3 episodes, though, all of his, general reactions to all the situations he's been in is obviously normal and something I actually agree with him on, and he's a very likable character at this time, because, I mean, look, he was forced into a situation to get into a fucking robot, a mech, and then start fighting an alien creature, and then he was supposed to save the entire world of humanity. And I mean, throwing that on top of a boy that age, and then his father calls him in to say, like, oh yeah, you're finally useful, that's just so fucked up all to happen in a span of, like, a couple hours. And so thinking about it like that, I feel bad for Shinji. I mean, he was forced to get into a robot, didn't even really know how to pilot it. He was forced to walk and start fighting this, put his life on the line, and he didn't even know why the fuck he was doing this in the first place. So his overall character at this time, I feel bad for him. I feel really bad for him, and it seems like his mind is really warped and fucked up because of, his upbringing. And you see how this carries over into episode 2 and episode 3. In episode 2, you see it to where it starts off with the fight and all that. He gets Neva, and, he's getting, like, manhandled, and he wakes up in a hospital. So it looked like from the first part of episode 2 that he lost the fight against the Angel and someone had to step in, but it then is later revealed that after he went unconscious, like a berserker type mode came out and started ripping apart the Angel, which is another mech, like an alien mech, started ripping it apart and destroyed it. And it showed that the robot, the Eva that Shinji is piloting, has some form of soul or spirit. Like it's some form of sentient creature. It's not something that is just a robot. It has more to it than that, because in episode 1 it protects Shinji, and it shows it has some form of intelligence compared to what you would see from a normal robot. So overall, when it came to everything, you know that Shinji is different, or at the very least, his general reaction, or how like the Evas react to his body, is completely different from normal other people. So that's probably going to be a big part later on down the road when it comes to Eva. But at this time, though, Shinji, he showed that he is someone that will follow orders. He wants to take orders. That's how it was started at the beginning of the 3rd episode. But then at the end, it goes against that. This man straight up disobeys orders, and he doesn't follow them or what's given to him. Instead of retreating, tackle retreating, and get out of there, he actually continued to charge the Angel and put it down at the cost of, like, everyone that was there. So Shinji, he's controlled by emotions. You can see that. As a character, he's controlled by emotions. He's someone that has a lot of problems, psychological problems that need to be worked out. And I guess the first thing that's going to need to be done is probably he's going to need to make friends. He's going to need to make friends to kind of open him up, kind of open up that shell of a person that he is, and kind of insert more loving care inside of his being. Because at this time, though, he's empty. He's empty like a robot. And I noticed while watching it, it's funny, and I don't know if the series is trying to imply this, but at the beginning of episode 3, it's implied that Shinji, he's someone that just follows orders and all that, and the way he looks just like he has this, like, robotic face. It's just someone that has no emotions on it, and he seems more robot than human, and the mech he's, riding inside of, it seems to be more living than a robot in general, so I like the balance between that. So getting off of that, let's talk about the plot. What is, Neon Genesis about? So the series, so far from my understanding, okay, the backstory and the world building we got in episode 2, so apparently there was a meteor a long time ago that launched from outer space and hit the North Pole, hit the Antarctic or whatever, and completely destroyed the ice caps. The ice caps were obliterated, completely melted, instantly. It was completely gone. And obviously when the ice caps melt, water level rises, and we know millions upon millions and millions of people are going to die thanks to that, because of water levels rising. A lot of the shores, like the beaches around the planet, is just going to go even higher, and all the people that are on the beach, like with houses and stuff, are just going to drown. And I mean, with the entire ice caps melting that quickly, like instantly because of a meteor, that's going to be catastrophic. Many people are going to die. There's not going to be enough time to evacuate. So we found out that a lot of humanity has died after this meteor strike from outer space. And after that, a lot of different species, plant life, humans, all that, a lot of them died after what happened with the asteroid or meteor. And eventually, after that, these angels started popping up for some reason, and then they started causing harm to humanity, killing things, and it's not really explained exactly what they are completely. All we can assume at this time is there's some form of alien species after the meteor hit the, Antarctic. But overall, though, So, we do know that they, for some reason, disappeared 15 years ago. Like, for instance, they stopped attacking 15 years ago, and then now they're coming back for some reason, which is unexplained. So, I can't wait to see how that's explained and how that's going to be tied in with everything. But so far, the world building is very solid. We know that, you know, humanity, they're facing extinction. We know that, you know, they have this specialized, you know, town right now that's kind of underground, where the skyscrapers go, like, completely underground and then back up in the middle of the day when everything is fine. I like the structure, I like the architect of the series, and that's something I want to talk about. Let's talk about the art style. So the art style of Neon Genesis, it surprised me, because, I mean, I know this is an old series, so obviously it's not going to have that, you know, animation and art quality as you would see from newer stuff, so I know for a fact it's not going to be the best. I understand that. I'm going to be quite frank with that. But the art surprised me. I actually really liked the art style of Neon Genesis, and it looked really beautiful in that oldish style way. The art style really stood out to me watching it, and I was rather impressed. I mean, obviously you could see that it's an older type art style, but overall when it came to the art, the backgrounds, and the character designs, I'm a big fan of that. I have no problem with the art style, and even the animation ain't that bad either for an old series, so it's rather impressive. I gotta give, you know, a clap to Neon Genesis for the art style decision and also the animation for such an old series. I don't know how old this series is. I know it came out a very long time ago, but I know it's old and that it won't have the best art and animation, but I am surprised how it still holds up to this day. Besides that, getting back into the plot though, so at this time about the angels, you know how they popped up, we don't know why they're reappearing or whatever, but we do know that the only way to stop them is thanks to these mechs that Nerve is making, which is Ava's, and so far from all we know, only Shinji and Rei are the only ones that are able to pilot these Avas. We don't know about anyone else that can. So at this time, only 2 people in the world can actually save humanity from extinction from whatever these alien creatures are, and that's pretty bad. That's a bad situation. So there's a lot of pressure put onto these characters, and wait, you get to see how Rei, as a young girl, she's already hurt. She has an arm in a sling. You have to where her eyes fucked up, and I mean, it's probably because multiple battles that Rei had to do before Shinji finally popped up, which showcases that the dire situation of how important these characters are and how much weight they carry on their shoulders, because if they die, everybody dies. Everyone you care about, everyone you love, or all your family, friends, whatever, everyone dies in the entire planet if no one can operate these machines. And Shinji breaking down in episode 3, screaming and all that, carrying this weight on his shoulders, it makes a lot of sense, because, I mean, as a kid, that young, his father pretty much neglecting him and then saying, oh, you're only useful to me now because you can operate a mech. Yeah, of course he's gonna have a mental fucking breakdown and just start screaming and disobeying orders. I mean, damn, you haven't really trained this kid that much. I mean, he was going through training, but you didn't train him to start operating it, and you just put him into live combat right at the start in episode 1. So yeah, I mean, the introduction of Shinji's character, I have no problem with. The plot is good so far. Characters are very good. Art style I'm a fan of, and so am I of the animation. So overall, Neon Genesis, as a series, I'm glad I started it. I'm glad many of you recommended me to start this series, and it's definitely something I can see is going to be very psychological themed. Like, there's going to be a lot of psychological themes throughout the series, and that's one of the big things I love about anime or manga, and if it's going to have a lot of that type of stuff, I know I'm going to enjoy this series. So, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you have yet to start Eva and you're watching it alongside of me, if you just watched the first 3 episodes, let me know your thoughts also in the comments below. And all of you diehard fans of Eva that have watched it already, probably watched it many times over, honestly, let me know. Is Shinji supposed to already be a dislikable character at this time, or does he eventually turn into a dislikable character? Because at this time, I don't see why many people hate him. I mean, yes, I could see how he's a little bit of a coward, but besides that, though, everything he does and his general reaction and everything just makes sense. So, let me know, honestly, in the comments below. You all have a wonderful day or not wherever you live, and I definitely will be getting up a new video of Eva very soon. I want to get back to watching it. You all have a wonderful day or not wherever you live. Please be safe. Chibi out.